Okay, so let's start with, actually, I'm going to start with my helmet and my setup and the removal of my adapter, my RICS from my helmet, and show you how that comes out of the assembly and everything. So let's first let's take this off. So we're going to take the mount, NVG mount off. Notice there's a piece of foam rubber in here. I am hopefully going to be able to send that along with guys that get an NVG mount from us. That goes on the back side. This is a new mount, and I don't know if I want to actually what I put on the back side, here's the front. What I put on the back side is a piece of Velcro. The foam rubber goes on the helmet, and the combination of this soft rubber or soft Velcro on your NVG compressed against that rubber neoprene fills that void and helps take some of the flex and some of the rock and some of the looseness out of this. You know, this is a $60, $70 setup for helmet and a plastic mount. So there's a little bit of slop in this as to how this goes on. But once you get that piece of Velcro in there and that piece of rubber neoprene, now when you lock it in there, it doesn't want to wander around or move around. It's a better experience to have a little bit of extra material, a chunk of Velcro put on the back side of your NVG mount. And then, like I said, that is a 1875 3/16 piece of foam rubber neoprene that I put on the helmet. So let's get into this a little bit more. So I want to show you, okay, here is the NVG mount, and here's the bridge. So let's take these apart. I'm gonna push the release button here and slide this out. That just slides in. That's a V-shaped wedge that goes into this groove. And there's a couple caveats with that, guys. So let me take this off here. And the bridges from Canis that we've been buying, unfortunately, that surface right there, let me see if I can, that surface right there is too thick. There's too much material there, so it doesn't want to snap all the way down onto that and snap into place. So I'm actually dremeling a little bit of that surface out of there. Yeah, I've got a brand new one right here, so we can see and see the difference between this one that is new. See if I can get this so you can see it. See the difference between this one that's new and this one that has been dremeled away a little bit. And I know that's kind of a sucky thing for guys, but I don't want to dremel them out for guys that might have their own helmet and a different mount. So it's up to you guys to make that work. And I know that's not ideal, but that's the way this cheaper stuff is. I'm sure if you bought a $100, $200 bridge, it probably fits in the NVG mounts better. I honestly don't know which part is wrong. I don't know if the NVG mount is made incorrectly or if it's the bridge that's made incorrectly, but this does not snap in place. When that goes in there, it does not snap in. It has to be ground out. And when you Dremel that out, just go a little bit at a time, and just keep testing it, and it should go just like that. There's virtually no pressure on it now. It just slides right into place and is good. So that's one of the caveats. Actually the only bad thing about the whole setup, the NVG mount, even though you have to do something to get rid of some slop on that, but that's not too bad. The only thing that you have to really modify is that surface right there. So let me, yeah, I want to take my mount off to show you guys a couple things as we go here. So one, there's two different size screws on this mount. These are number 4 screws. They're pan heads. They're Phillips drive. And this is a 1/4 20 screw, 3/8 long, if you need to replace it by another one. 1/4 20, 3/8, and it is a standard number 2 drive, as opposed to, for these little screws, number 4s, it's ideally that you have a P1 Phillips drive. It's just the smaller. This is a P2. This is a P1. You need a P1 for these smaller screws. So first, when you install it, when you put it together and you put your mount on your Rix, the bottom screw is the first one you should align and install, and then put the second ones on. The smaller screws, the 2 smaller screws. But in this case, I'm going to take this off here, and I'll talk about it again when I'm tightening the new mount on. But when you tighten this down, you don't need to tighten these full tight. Just get them down to where they're just snug, and really that line, that crack right there, should just touch. It doesn't need to be down to where you crush it. This thing isn't going anywhere. Once you put that 1/4 20 screw in, and you have these 2 number 4 screws up top here, down to where it's just snug, that's it. That's all you need. The screws aren't going to come out. This screw isn't going to come out. It's not loose in here. It's very, very secure. It's really tight. It's an awesome custom fit. It's really nice how that all goes together and how that all works together. But let me pull this off here so I have my Rix to show you when it comes time to put it on, put the adapter on. These are really long screws. That's the other reason that you don't need to over tighten these screws, is there's a lot of screw length that goes down inside this lower boss. So once you realize, or once you get to that point where you have that much screw length going down inside that, another reason that you don't need to tighten them down to anything more than just snug. It's ABS plastic. It's very durable. It's very rugged. It is flexible. It will flex quite a bit. And if you don't break it, if you don't just pull it apart, you're not going to break it. And don't test it, but you can pull it apart plenty wide to fit your scanner in. So that's how that works. You just spread it open and push your scanner in from the back side, and then we'll talk about that more as I get to that point. But let me take my scanner out of this. I didn't want to have this done ahead of time because I wanted to show you kind of how the reverse process works if you need to take your adapter off of your Rix thermal scanner, how this all works. So then now the screws are loose, and this will flex open, this will flex apart. Hope I'm right in the middle of your view so you can get to see all this, because I don't want to do this again. And then once you get those 2 screws out, now you just have the 3rd screw. That's your 1/4 20 on the bottom side. Just take that out. It's 3/8 long. It's a short little guy. He comes out. And sometimes these want to stay in the hole, like that one kind of wants to stay in. You don't need to take them out, but just try not to lose them so you don't have to go to the hardware store, go to Lowe's or Home Depot and replace them. But now that's free. Now that that'll just spread apart a little bit. Like I said, it's flexible, and you can spread it apart and you're not going to hurt it, and then just pull it out. And same with when it comes time to put it in. But let's start with the box and kind of... if it isn't obvious already, I'm just going to walk through. Oh, and notice eye cup. This is our extended eye cup with a longer, wider shield. To me, it's really, really nice. I like not having any ambient light coming in, and you don't fight that, even though most of the time when we're out, we're at night. I just like having that extra coverage so my eye is better protected, and it just helps me see the image a little bit better. And then that'll kind of flip back to keep it out of the way if you need to. When you're when your helmet's on and you have your scanner up in position, sometimes you just need a break and you can flip that out of the way. You can rotate the whole assembly out of the way, and I do that quite a bit too, but this is nice to be able to flip that back out of the way. And that just goes on real nice and easy. You just kind of spread that rubber out around your existing ricks, and that just goes on there. If you have a right side mount, you can put it on there the other direction, and it goes on the other side. Now you're good over there. So it's ambient, or it's ambidextrous, left or right, and that's how that works. I really like using it. We sell those. They're $24, and you can just direct message me if you didn't get one and you think now after you're watching this video you'd like one. Go ahead and do that, and we'll send one of those out to you. But let's talk about the kit. So here is this is just the kit for the adapter, but this is the way it comes to you. Let's pull this open. Some basic instructions. The gist of this is just saying thank you for the purchase, and then that it's ABS plastic, it's durable, but when you tighten the screws, don't over tighten them. Just don't screw them to where they're stripping out. There's just no reason to get them that tight. I know I sound like a broken record, but I just don't want to have people calling me and telling me they've stripped their adapter out, because you don't need to tighten it that much. Just get it nice and snug, and that's good enough. Hope you enjoy it, and send us pictures from the field, some of your success. So this is what you get, a little bit of packaging. Here is your mount. Notice this one, this is an older version. We have a few of these that we are getting rid of, and then the newer ones don't have this surface sanded, but this is an older one. That surface has been sanded down a little bit, about 50 thousandths, and then the adjustment screw was put into it. All the new mounts, they also have that hole for the screw, and you can put that screw in there, but you don't have to have that screw in there. If you don't need it, if your adapter stops perfect in your bridge mount, then you're good. You don't need to worry about anything. But if it doesn't set perfectly the way you want it, you can loosen that screw, pull that screw up out of that hole, and now instead of it rocking too far, it will interfere with that screw and it'll set more vertical. So that's an adjustment screw that hopefully you guys will not have to use. So this is what the mount looks like. You may or may not have a screw already installed for that adjustment, and like I said, you don't have to have it in there. And then your 2 screws in your kit. There are 2 screws because the third one is already installed. Your newer kits probably have 3 screws because I don't put them all in anymore. And then the 1/4 screws. So let's pull them out. I want to show you exactly how to go about how to go through this process, just so you understand exactly what it all entails, and so you can get it right the first time and not have to fight and ask me about how to do this. Let me pull this. So if you can see that I was off camera, but this is really snug fit. I mean, it's perfect. It's really, really nice and snug, and once it goes in, it's not going to accidentally come out on you. Okay, so here's my Rix K3, and so you get your adapter, and the first thing you want to do is install your Rix. So you just spread it open, just spread it wide enough that you can get your Rix started in there, and then just push it in the rest of the way, and flip it over. Look at the bottom side. We're looking at that hole right there. We want to line that up for that 1/4 screw. If you try and tighten these first, you're just going to fight it. It's going to be too tight and you're not going to be able to walk this around where you need to. But if you just get that right where it lines up, now you can put your 1/4. Probably sound like a broken record with that too. 1/4. But go ahead and put that in, tighten that. Start it slow. For you guys that have never put a screw in the bottom of your Rix, just go easy, just start it, and if it feels like it's cross threading, loosen it, go backwards until you feel it click. if you're going backwards and it clicks, now you're right at the beginning of the threads, and you can go ahead and tighten that down just snug. You don't need to murder this. You don't need to kill it. Just get it nice and snug, and that's fine. That's nice and secure. And then now all you have to do is just get your 2 number 4 screws in. And to help that along, you could probably just screw them in and they'd probably go. But instead of stressing the holes, squeeze that with your hand. Squeeze this mount and close up that gap so that the holes are better aligned to get these number 4 screws in. And then let's go ahead and start those screws there. Yeah, and see, it wasn't quite aligned, so it wants to spread them apart. So it takes just a little bit to get that to be lined up here. Actually, I've never had a problem with it not lining up. That's the first time I've ever done it, now that I'm on camera, obviously. So then tighten that down. Get the first one just down to where it's just getting close, but not where it's actually touching anything, or it's not closing that gap yet. Get your second screw on there. I hope I'm right in the view of the camera. So second screw goes in. Now you're almost done. Now you can come down here and fine tune this to where, now just get this back one tight. Just go down to where the crack, the gap, just barely is visible, or where there still is just a tiny gap. Do the same thing on the front. Just go ahead and tighten it down just to where the gap is gone, or just starting to go away. If you can still see your scanner down through that little crack, that's okay. I just backed that out just a little bit. You don't need to tighten that any more than that. Again, I just don't want guys stripping these out. It doesn't need to happen. So there you go. There is your Rix mounted in your Night Ranger, and you're ready to install this in a bridge.